Hello. Good morning, everyone. How are you guys? So, any doubts from the previous classes? Before I start the class, it seems almost very understandable कि बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है, but few things. See, there are a lot of topics for which our emotions are attached, right? So, but that should not make you emotional. So, for example, if you feel like that this is how sir ने कैसे बोल दिया है, so in that case, we just have to be critical. For example, you always can discuss counter arguments. For example, if whatever I am saying or whatever somebody has said in the past, if you feel that it is not correct, we can always discuss. We can always counter that point. Why I'm saying, I hope you know the context why I'm saying it. Like Vision IS has been in news for all the good reasons. And by the way, that is how knowledge also develops. When your existing beliefs are challenged. Any discipline, कोई भी discipline हो, वो तभी develop होगा, and that includes both science and humanity, right? When your existing beliefs are challenged. For example, when people challenge that Earth is not the center of universe. In medieval times, जो Europeans थे, it was written that Earth is center of the universe in religious textbooks. But that belief was challenged. And because of that, we have now this entire astronomy जो हम पढ़ते हैं इतने डिटेल में जानते हैं. तो जब तक हमारे existing beliefs challenge नहीं होंगे तब तक ऐसे भी knowledge enhancement नहीं होगा. ठीक है? Anyways, in previous classes, so we have covered lot of topics. For example, if I have to talk about in terms of chronology, we started with prehistory, but our main focus, our main syllabus starts with Indus Valley Civilization. We talked about Rig Vedic phase and later Vedic phase, early Vedic period and later Vedic phase. Then we talked about rise of Mahajanpadas and Magad emerging as the most powerful empire. We talked about 4 important dynasties of Magad. Starts with Haranyak, Shishunag, Nand and then Maurya. Even after Maurya we talked about 2 other dynasties, that is Shung dynasty and Kanva dynasty. ये सारी चीजें हमने discuss करी है. Then another theme which we discussed was invasions. So for example, we talked about invasion in 2 phases. The first set of invasion we talked about, it occurred when Magad was emerging as a powerful Mahajanpada. So Persian invasion, Darius, and then later Alexander, just before Mauryan, Chandragupta Maurya becomes king of Magad, right? And then 4 more invasions which we have talked about. It starts with Indo-Greeks. So Indo-Greeks already have established themselves. As Magad's power declined, they further expanded into northwestern frontier, right? Then after Indo-Greek, Shakas came, then Parthians came and Kushans came. इतनी चीजें अभी तक हमने discuss करी हुई हैं. In today's class, I'm going to now shift my focus to southward. We will, so for example, in last class we already have talked about कि जो after Shung when Kanva comes to power. So Vasudeva Kanva is the first ruler, but they only have 4 kings. The last Kanva ruler is defeated by Satavahanas. यहाँ पे हमने अपना खत्म किया था. Because a new kingdom was emerging more powerful in Deccan area, which right now, say for example, regions of Maharashtra, some regions of Andhra Pradesh, ये जो region है, जो गोदावरी के आसपास जो area है. If you look at the Godavari river, so it starts around Godavari river, just above it, but as the empire expands, it expands up to, it captures the entire Krishna Godavari delta. Go and look at the map. I will show you also. I have a map. So Krishna Godavari delta as well as some regions of Maharashtra as well as Madhya Pradesh also. This entire region is ruled by a dynasty called Satvahana. So एक king जो specially आपको नाम याद रखना है. There are many kings, but one king which you need to remember is Gautami Putra Shatkarni. So a few things about Satvahanas. How they originated, that is very difficult to answer, right? So for example, we have few idea about who started Satvahana dynasty. So, but especially origin, we do know that later, so maybe there were again some tribes who have been Brahmanicized, because Satvahana, by the way, claims themselves to be Brahmins, not even Kshatriyas. The Satvahana rulers hai, and this is a distinction, because generally the ruling class hai, they are Kshatriyas, but Satvahana claims themselves that they are Brahmins, and they were quite proud of it. And their main focus was that कि जो Varna system है, Varna system को हमको strengthen करना है इंडिया में. They were great followers of Varna system. They patronized both Hinduism and Buddhism. They are Brahmins. So these are very basic few things which you need to know. For example, the riches are not, they are not as rich as, say, for example, Mauryas or even Kushanas. How do we know that? Because of numismatics. In the first class I told you that एक जो बहुत important source of history होता है वो है numismatics. To study the coins, what type of coins did they develop. So Satvahanas के जो coins है, they were mainly copper coins, sometimes lead also, but definitely very less amount of gold coins. Same is not true for Kushanas or Indo-Greeks also. Indo-Greek starts gold coinage, but during time to Kushana, gold coin is available at a much larger scale, right? So Satvahanas emerged as very powerful. There is one more thing which you should know, is that there is a struggle between Satvahanas and Western Shakas. In last class I told you that Shakas do not have one established kingdom. They ruled as different Kshatrap, या Satrap जो बोलते हैं, जो Satrap rule है. So they ruled as different Satrap. For example, one of these Shaka rulers ruled Gujarat, another in Punjab, another in the upper Deccan area. So Satvahanas, they had a constant conflict with Western Satraps, right? जैसे I talked about one of the great Shaka rulers is Rudradaman, ठीक है? तो रुद्रदमन के बारे में हमने डिस्कस करा था. So Rudradaman fought with Satvahanas. Later Gautamiputra Shatkarni fought with Shakas, defeated them. That's why he is considered as a great ruler, because he established his supremacy over this western part of country. Anyways, before I discuss further, I have few questions, objective questions. Let's solve these questions. What type of question you can expect in prelims examination, and then we will write down about Satvahanas. So there is a question that ancient medieval history mains में क्या आता है. देखो mains में directly neither ancient history mentioned है ना ही medieval history mentioned है. अगर if you go and look at the syllabus of mains examination, a paper one, this is, by the way, this is a very basic thing which all of you need to do. Go and see syllabus, because you guys have started your preparation. Looking at syllabus again and again is very important. Why? Because especially for current affairs topic, whenever you are reading a topic, it should be very clear कि ये syllabus में कहाँ पे fit बैठता है. सबसे पहले तो ये clear हो जाना चाहिए कि ये paper 1 में है, 2 में है, 3 में है, even 4 का भी हो सकता है, right? उसके बाद उसमें paper 1 में कौन सा part है? So every paper has major sections. For example, paper 1 has art and culture, history, right? Society and geography. तो ये major sections हैं. Similarly, paper 2 has polity, governance, social justice and IR. Paper 3 has economy, environment, science and technology, disaster management, internal security. Paper 4 in general is ethics, integrity and aptitude. तो ये major classification हो गया. अब उसमें कहाँ पे fit बैठेगा? अगर कोई polity का topic है तो कहाँ पे fit बैठ रहा है? अगर IR का है तो कहाँ पे fit बैठ रहा है? IR में भी 4-5 headings हैं. India and its neighbors, multilateral institutions, things like that. So whenever you are reading a topic, it becomes very important that you are able to pinpoint exactly which part of syllabus this topic fits in, right? So art and culture, if you're talking about mains examination, then art and culture is directly mentioned. However, I should also tell you that there are questions which were not associated with art and culture per se. जैसे एक साल यूपीएससी ने क्वेश्चन पूछा था that I told you that what can we learn from Indus Valley, what our urban plan, modern contemporary urban plan can learn from Indus Valley civilization. ये 2013 में क्वेश्चन आया था. This question is not a question of art and culture per se. Art and culture में you will know about arts and craft tradition of IVC people, but not about their urban plan. वो आप नहीं पढ़ोगे. राइट ऐसे ये क्वेश्चन आया था एक बार और कि while other civilizations perished like Greeks, Mesopotamians, they perished, Indian civilization has continued. And not only it has continued, we also find elements of this continuity throughout centuries. You just had to discuss this. Right? While other civilizations perished, other civilizations like Mesopotamian, ancient civilizations, Greek, Egyptians, all of them perished, Indian civilization not only continued, but we find elements of this continuity. कैसे करोगे इसका आंसर? Think about this question. I'm giving you a few minutes. I'm repeating the question. Exact framing मुझे याद नहीं है. So I'm paraphrasing the question. The question is very simple. That while other civilizations like Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Greek civilization, they perished, Indian civilization not only continued, but we also find elements of continuity throughout the ages. Discuss. What will be some points? Just think about it. मुझे पेन ड्राइव से कॉपी करने दो, उसके बाद हम करेंगे. कैसे अप्रोच क्या होगा? आई डू नॉट वांट आंसर. व्हाट विल बी द अप्रोच? आंसर लिखते वक्त पहले हम सोचते हैं ना, वेन एवर यू हैव अ क्वेश्चन, you have to give it at least few seconds of thought. That what are the major demands of the question, what are the main keywords, what are the major demands of the question, and based on that, how I am going to structure my answer. तो पहले हम एक जो एक structure बनाते हैं कि हमारा पहले for example I am going to write this, then write that, right? So this is called approach. So what will be a good approach to this question? And again, there is no one fixed answer to this question. There will be questions जहाँ पे more or less सबका आंसर सेम रहना है. बट ये जो क्वेश्चन है ये बड़ा ही ओपन एंडेड क्वेश्चन. एंड बाय द वे दिस इंटायर स्टेटमेंट, ये जो पूरा सेंटेंस है, इट इज रिटन फ्रॉम अ वेरी नाइस बुक. आपको पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है बिकॉज काफी बल्कि बुक है. द वंडर दैट वाज इंडिया, रिटन बाय ए.एल. बशाम. देयर इज अ वेरी फेमस बुक कॉल्ड द वंडर दैट वाज इंडिया. तो आर्ट एंड कल्चर के लिए बहुत बार जो स्पेशली हिस्ट्री जिनका ऑप्शन वगैरह वो पढ़ सकते हैं, बट नॉट फॉर जीएस बिकॉज इट्स अ वेरी बल्कि बुक. बहुत ही मोटी किताब है. It mainly talks about art and culture, art tradition, cultural tradition. It also has some information on ancient history. But remember, always remember, input-output game. For 3-4 questions, we are not going to study a 600-page book. And उसके fonts भी बड़े छोटे-छोटे हैं. So not only it's a very bulky book. हाँ जी, क्या लिख सकते हैं? बताइए, आप बोल रहे थे कुछ. That is not required in this question. Why do we have to talk about how? So you are when you are making this point, you are assuming that कि burnt brick और कहीं पे है ही नहीं. Burnt bricks are very important for survival of structures, but burnt bricks were present in other parts of the world also, right? So burnt brick, again, this question is, you need to understand that हमको particular civilization पे एक पे focus नहीं करना है. ये question is about the features of civilizational features as well as perhaps some. अच्छा, give me more points. हाँ जी. Adaptability, that's a very good point. How, for example, can you give me some points? He's saying adaptability. That's a very good point. In fact, that will be a very good point, that in general we have practiced a culture of tolerance. So whenever we have interacted with, as a civilization, whenever we have interacted with foreigners, a syncretic culture emerged which included elements of both indigenous culture as well as foreign culture. And this has happened for thousands of years. So yes, that's a very good point कि हमारा हमको दिखाना है कि we have been very, एक जो culture of tolerance है कि we have adapted as per changing situation. What can be other points? Huh? अगेन आई विल नॉट से दैट इट चेंज द होल कल्चर, बिकॉज ये तो फिर पूरा पर्पस डिफीट हो जाता है, फिर तो आप क्वेश्चन से आप डिसएग्री कर रहे हो. देखो बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि क्वेश्चन जो स्टेटमेंट्स होते हैं ना, जैसे ये क्वेश्चन में आपको कोई क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस नहीं है. दिस क्वेश्चन इज दैट यू हैव टू एज्यूम दिस स्टेटमेंट इज ट्रू एंड यू जस्ट हैव टू सब्सटैंशिएट. इस पे भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि जो एक हमारा मेन पॉइंट होता है, जो मेन डायरेक्टिव होता है क्वेश्चन का, critical analysis. This is not critical, this is simply a comment. You just have to comment upon it, right? So I will not use the word that completely change, but I will definitely say that this cultural interaction does produce a syncretic culture, a mixed culture, right? But वो same point है जो अभी point. और हाँ, someone was saying. That's again a very good point. So geography plays a very important role. This is, अच्छा by the way, देखो पहले ना हमको सोचने की जरूरत ही है. अच्छा बाय द वे फ्यू ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स आर आल्सो सेइंग हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन का हम एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं. ग्रेट बाथ, सीवर, फायर ऑल्टर सैक्रिफाइसेस, दे आर स्टिल प्रेजेंट. दैट्स अ वेरी गुड पॉइंट. तो कंटिन्यूटी भी हमको दिखाना है. देखो इस क्वेश्चन के दो पार्ट हैं. पहला तो हमको ये दिखाना है कि व्हाई वी हैव सर्वाइव्ड. डोंट फॉरगेट, मैंने क्या बोला था कि पहले क्वेश्चन को देखो कि मेन पॉइंट्स क्या है, मेन क्या पूछने की कोशिश की जा रही है. तो दिस क्वेश्चन हैज टू सब पार्ट्स. In first part you have to show that why we have survived as a civilization, but in the second part you also have to give examples कि ये जो हमारा continuity in tradition है, what are those traditions which have continued. So yes, that's a very good example. जो fire altars हैं अभी भी use होते हैं यज्ञ में. Sacrifices they were present during Indus Valley, definitely in Vedic civilization. It has continued for thousands of years. That's a very good point. डिफरेंट कल्चर, इंट्रोडक्शन अबाउट आईबीसी बॉडी. हाँ जी, क्या बोल रहे थे? अगेन अच्छा, ये जो ड्रेनेज प्लानिंग वाला जो एग्जांपल है ना, इवन दो सो एंशियंट जो हिस्ट्री जब हम पढ़ते हैं दैट इंक्लूड्स अ वेरी ह्यूज पीरियड. सो ड्रेनेज प्लानिंग जो है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम वेरी श्योर इट मस्ट हैव एग्जिस्टेड इफ नॉट अर्लियर, इफ नॉट एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडस वैलीज, बट डेफिनेटली लेटर इन अदर सिविलाइजेशंस आल्सो. So we have to pinpoint those points. We have to write down those points which ensures that how as a civilization we have survived. आप समझ रहे हो कि how as a civilization we have survived. Then examples हम लेके आएंगे. हाँ जी. Nature worship. ठीक है, nature worship. तो ये example आ गया. Again, ये second part of the answer है कि कंटिन्यूटी जो एलिमेंट्स. अभी फर्स्ट पार्ट का आंसर हुआ नहीं है अभी प्रॉपरली. ट्राई टू आंसर द फर्स्ट पार्ट. दैट कैन बी अ गुड पॉइंट. दैट्स अ इनोवेटिव पॉइंट. ही इज सेइंग दैट व्हाइल अदर सिविलाइजेशंस स्पेंट लॉट ऑफ मनी ऑन building large monuments and all that, we did not. Our main focus was perhaps overall development of society, developing on trade routes, on economy, not on large and big monuments. That is an innovative point. Sorry? So definitely in Indus Valley, but it cannot be said for the later kingdoms that we did not have standing army. Again, ancient history, बहुत बड़ा period है. Do not focus your answer just to Indus Valley civilization. We are talking about the entire ancient history, as well as medieval history. Why are you forgetting medieval history or even modern history? Culture of continuity. That will not be entirely true, but because even in other civilizations we do find जैसे जो Greek Latins जो हैं, that is part of Indo-European language, so they definitely changed, very similar to our language. Anyways, देखो पहले तो क्वेश्चन का जैसे अगर मुझे आंसर करना हो, again try to answer this question on your own, but अगर मुझे आंसर करना हो तो I will first think about that why a civilization perishes and why another civilization survives. तो एक civilization perish होने के क्या कारण हो सकते हैं? Climatic conditions. तो ये सेकेंड पॉइंट यही है. एक सिविलाइजेशन पेरिश होने का यह भी कारण है कि एक कोई सुपीरियर सिविलाइजेशन आके कंप्लीटली खत्म ही कर दिया या ऑलमोस्ट जो भी बेसिक कल्चरल एलिमेंट्स थे उनको खत्म कर दिया. That civilization perished because of attack by people who are militarily more superior. So that is another reason. Third can be pandemic also. Don't forget that. A pandemic can also cause perishing of a civilization, and pandemics have occurred in the past. So the reason why we have survived as a civilization, the first answer is geography also. That we are more or less protected from our border is protected by Indian Ocean and Himalaya. The only area where we are vulnerable from is northwest frontier. So first of all, we did not face the amount of invasions which occurred in other countries. This is जो Central Asian culture है, जो Central Asian regions है, that's a very huge region by the way. पूरा जो Central Asia और West Asia का अगर आप मैप देखोगे, it's a huge area. But we cannot pinpoint, at one point of time Turkmenistan, which right now is not that important of a country, at one point of time it was considered center of the earth. This is literally true. Turkmenistan was considered as the center of the earth. Baghdad was one of the perhaps most prosperous cities world has ever seen in both ancient and medieval times. Right? So the reason, one of the reason can be that geography plays a very important role. While in these ये जो regions हैं, they were very much vulnerable to many attacks. India पे भी attacks हुए हैं, but कम हुए हैं. Second जो tolerance वाला point है, that is very important. That whenever attack occurred, a syncretic culture emerged. People adopted, they brought their own culture. At the same time, they also adopted Indian culture. And we have very good examples to showcase that, जो कि हम second part में करेंगे आंसर में. हम रिलेटिवली पैंडेमिक वगैरह इंडिया में नहीं हुआ ऐसा नहीं है कि, बट एक एपिडेमिक जो है बहुत एपिक प्रोपोर्शन का इंडिया में नहीं हुआ है. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. Some adverse climatic conditions did occur. For example, Indus Valley did perish because of climatic condition. But after that, we find that climatic condition was also very suitable. We also belong to, entire India also belongs to, सबसे पहले जो pastoral या जो agricultural communities हैं, उनका main economic activity क्या agriculture है. Most of the region, जैसे गंगा यमुना दोआब हो गया, कृष्णा गोदावरी डेल्टा हो गया, Indus tributaries हो गए, they are very prosperous regions. So agriculturally they were very prosperous. So economically हमको कभी भी ऐसे नहीं कि हमेशा एक subsistence तो है ही, मतलब खाने का तो है अनाज हमारे पास, right? At times we have agriculture surplus also. Because of that we have cities, we have civilizations, right? So that is also you can write. तो ये कुछ पॉइंट हम लिख सकते हैं. And this is not, all these factors together did not occur for other civilizations. One or other way, for example, Egypt suffered from epidemic, right? अगर ये नहीं भी पता है आपको, हर civilization why did it perish, it doesn't matter. ये सब सारे points एक साथ, कि जो factors which leads to perishing of a civilization, these factors were present at one point or other time in different civilizations, but in India was somehow survived. These factors did play a role, but not up to a very large extent. फिर जो second part है वहाँ पे बहुत सारे points हैं. जैसे fire altar is a very good point. Use of, so for example, पशुपति का जो worship है, right? Nature worship जो है, वेद जो Aryans हैं, they worshipped nature, right? और जो dressing sense है, for example, I forgot to tell you in the last class, but that's actually a very interesting point. ये जो कुशानास हैं, when Kushanas came, they came with this long vest, long coat, शेरवानीज जो आज अभी भी लोग यूज करते हैं. शेरवानी actually was introduced by Kushanas, right? तो ये जो हमारा clothing है, that clothing has also continued, right? So बहुत सारे points हैं. हमारे जो food habits हैं, that has also continued. So a lot of things have continued for thousands of years, which are very integral part of culture. So try to answer this question. We have discussed this question. Try to answer it now. आप 2014 का पेपर जाके देखना, वहां पे था. So at times, anyways, I started this discussion that at times questions does not have to be exactly question of art and culture. They will be questions of ancient or medieval history. जैसे एक बार ऐसे ही question आया था, I think last to last year. How can we deconstruct history, ancient and medieval history, from the accounts of Chinese and Arab travelers? This is not a question of art and culture. ये बिल्कुल history का question है. तो टाइम पे हिस्ट्री के क्वेश्चन भी आते रहते हैं, although it is not directly mentioned in the syllabus. हाँ जी. हाँ बोल सकते हैं, सो हाँ बोल सकते हैं. ऑल्दो सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू आर सेइंग स्पेशली एक लार्ज एपिडेमिक को हमने कंट्रोल कर लिया. आई हैव नॉट कम अक्रॉस जैसे कि एक हिस्टोरिकल अकाउंट हम ये बोल दे कि बिकॉज ऑफ आवर वी डेफिनेटली देयर शुड बी नो डाउट दैट इंडियाज मेडिसिनल नॉलेज वाज quite in fact unparalleled again compared to other civilizations, but did it play a role in, say for example, stopping an epidemic? That I have not come across anything. अच्छा एग्जाम्पल में आप बोल रहे हो इन सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ द आंसर. यस वी कैन राइट दैट. दैट्स ऑल्सो वेरी गुड पॉइंट. ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट आवर एंशियंट मेडिसिनल ट्रेडिशंस. जैसे जो आयुर्वेदा है, सिद्धा है, ऑल दिस दे हैव कंटिन्यूड फॉर hundreds thousands of years. So yeah, that's actually a very good point. कुछ ना कुछ क्या था? नहीं, हम कहाँ बोल रहे हैं कि मेडिसिन की अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं थी, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा. बट कंट्रोलिंग एपिडेमिक देखो बहुत, जैसे नॉर्मल डिजीज कंट्रोल करना वर्सेस एक एपिडेमिक कंट्रोल करना, आई डोंट थिंक एनी सिविलाइजेशन had this capacity. Even today we do not have this capacity. Even today we are struggling. Somehow it feels like that we are perhaps getting out of this pandemic. नहीं, आई डोंट थिंक सो. एपिडेमिक को कंट्रोल करने के लिए तो नहीं बोल सकते, बट हाँ डिजीज आउटब्रेक या एक लोकल लेवल पे डिजीजेस के लिए हम वेरी श्योर कि हम बोल सकते हैं. एपिडेमिक देखो ऐसा होता है ना, एपिडेमिक एक्सपोनेंशियली ग्रो करता है. एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ ऐसा होता है कि द नंबर ऑफ केसेस अभी आपको 10 दिखेंगे, 5 दिन बाद 100 होंगे, 5 दिन बाद 1000 हो जाएंगे, राइट? तो एपिडेमिक को कंट्रोल करना अभी भी मुश्किल है. थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट इट वाज डन इन एंशिएंट टाइम, दैट विल बी क्वाइट टेकिंग अ लीप ऑफ argument. Just a second, guys. Any doubt? Nidhi is saying that but only in Harappa civilization humans used burnt bricks while other civilizations were using dried bricks. Again, this question was not limited to Harappan civilization. Why? This question was talking about overall ancient civilization. So burnt bricks, yes, at this point of time when Harappa was prospering, Harappan civilization was prospering, burnt brick is only present in India. But in later times, एंशियंट इंडिया में हम आते हैं. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल बर्न्ट ब्रिक इज नॉट प्रेजेंट ड्यूरिंग टाइम ऑफ आर्यंस, व्हेन जनपदास, मगध, व्हेन मौर्याज इमर्ज एज द पावरफुल रूलर्स, एंड इन लेटर रूल वी फाइंड बर्न्ट ब्रिक्स. एंड इट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू फॉर, नहीं मैं नहीं करता हूं असाइनमेंट चेक. अच्छा, लास्ट क्लास का क्वेश्चन ये था. Someone is saying कि लास्ट क्लास का असाइनमेंट ये था. Chenka is saying कि ये लास्ट क्लास का असाइनमेंट यही था. That will be quite a coincidence. हाँ जी. No, don't take that leap. So you are saying that our culture favored natural selection, biology, scientific concept को, हाँ? Even in, so again natural selection जो है that depends upon mutation. उसको culture से relate करना बहुत मतलब I cannot tell you the repercussions of that because it was actually used by Nazis to show कि somehow they are superior. तो जो पूरा डार्विन का थ्योरी है that evolution occurs, जो species will survive, fittest, जो survival of the fittest है, तो ये जो Nazis they actually used it to show कि this also happens in society and because of that Aryans are supreme. So that's actually not a very good argument. But we can say that our culture definitely played a very important role in जो culture of tolerance है, that definitely played a very important role in continuity of this civilization. Not as a natural selection हम use नहीं करेंगे वहाँ पे word, but हम definitely इस point को use कर सकते हैं. What the hell? एक बार जरा इनको बोलना है this. हाँ जी. Let's solve some objective questions. ये ancient history prelims में online students also please participate. Let's start with question number 1. Everyone can read the questions. So let's start with question number 1. क्या होगा आंसर इसका? Online students क्या होगा? With reference to agriculture technologies in the Harappan civilization, technique of multiple cropping was known to inhabitants, water reservoirs, terracotta. क्या होगा आंसर? B, 3 only. Okay. 2 and 3. So C, D. He is saying D. D. B. कोई A बोल दो. We'll complete everything. So I have got B, C, D. किसको लॉक करें? सॉरी मैं इधर साइड हो जाता हूं, ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स को नहीं दिख रहा. सॉरी कोई बात नहीं, देख लेंगे यहाँ पे. Let's read the question. Agricultural technologies. Water reservoirs were built to store water for irrigation purposes. ये तो बिल्कुल ही सही है. Dhaulavira. That is Dhaulavira. It is considered one of the biggest sites of Indus Valley, known for its water reservoirs. And जैसे last year it was also included in UNESCO heritage site. तो इसमें एक outstanding feature इसका यही था. तो second तो definitely true है. एक second. Agriculture was not there. We are talking about a urban civilization, prospering civilization without agriculture. What do you think they did? हम ये तो सॉरी फिर से बोलो. Not only agriculture is there, many crops are there. मैंने starting point में जब मैंने asked you that civilization का जो definition है, it starts with urban settlement. Urban settlement will not work without agriculture surplus. जब तक एग्रीकल्चर सरप्लस नहीं होगा अर्बन सेटलमेंट शुरू ही नहीं होंगे, राइट? तो इट स्टार्ट्स विथ एग्रीकल्चर सरप्लस. एग्रीकल्चर इज डेफिनेटली देयर एंड नॉट ओनली इट इज देयर, मेनी क्रॉप्स आर देयर. Wheat is there, rice is there, barley is there, lot of crops are there. All three statements are correct here. First is also correct. देखो बहुत सारी चीजें हमने नहीं भी पढ़ी हैं फिर भी आएंगे. This is why the reason why I am keeping all these questions, that you have to make logical conclusions. I don't think any of the questions I have kept here is an easy question here. So you have to come to logical conclusions also. So third is also correct. Terracotta figurines जो हैं art and culture में आपको पढ़ाया जाएगा कि जो terracotta models हैं, they are one of the most outstanding art and craft tradition of Indus Valley civilization. And we have found terracotta models of plows, etc. at not just one site, more than one sites of IVC cities. Second is also true, first is also true. Correct answer will be D. What about question number 2? It is the first Indus Valley civilization site in India to receive UNESCO World Heritage Site tag. It was known for water conservation system. The wall of towns are made of sandstone. देखो, this is a difficult question. जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 है वो इजी नहीं है. It's my fault because I have not still mailed you the profiles of Indus Valley cities. Third is actually correct. ये जो धौलावीरा का बहुत outstanding feature है कि they were made of sandstones or limestone instead of mud bricks. Mud bricks are popular across other cities. Dhaulavira has two very important features. 3 features in fact. Water reservoir system. Second, it is the only city which is divided into 3 parts. Most of the cities are divided into 2 parts. There is a citadel and then there is lower town जहाँ पे normal people रहते हैं. Citadel पे हो सकता है जो nobles होंगे, ruling class होंगे, वो रहते होंगे. But जो Dhaulavira है, it is divided into 3 parts. And third is that houses are made of limestone rather than burnt bricks. So answer here also will be D. Chalo. Sorry? So citadel is definitely there. Again, with 3 parts, what they were used for, that is very difficult question to answer. मतलब ये कि 3 पार्ट में क्यों डिवीजन था वो तो जब तक हम डिसाइफर नहीं कर पाएंगे वो करना तो बहुत मुश्किल है. Citadel is there, lower town and further lower town. So generally cities are that about center, at the center, there is a higher platform which is citadel and then there is lower town. So city is divided mainly into 2 parts. In case of Dhaulavira, the city is divided into 3 parts. There is a citadel, lower town and further lower town. Again, that question, answering this question is difficult. Maybe perhaps the laborer class. Maybe. Again, these are, so of course we can come to such logical conclusions, but an answer with certainty will be a very difficult thing to do. Anyways, question number 3. Question number 3. Someone is saying C. A. So, let's look at all the statements. The early settlement was focused in the Ganga Yamuna Doab region. Is this correct? It is clearly wrong. Sapt Sindhu, land of 7 rivers, that does not include Ganga and Yamuna. It includes Indus, its 5 tributaries and Saraswati. It does not include Ganga and Yamuna. So first is clearly wrong. The moment I know first is wrong, I have eliminated A and D. So I also know third statement is correct. That is how you have to use elimination skills. The moment I know first is wrong, my answer is either B or C. So उससे ये तो clear हो गया कि third तो सही है और वो सही भी है. Varna system is not present when Aryans came to India. It solidifies much later, hundreds of years later. It starts as a social hierarchy. However, the social hierarchy is not ascribed by birth. It is based on occupation. Later it becomes an identity, part of your identity. So third is definitely true. What about second? Second is also not correct. Both dasas and dasyus are enemies. ये तो discuss किया था हमने. Both dasas and dasyus are enemies. I told you that there is a small difference between them. A lot of time they are used interchangeably. There is someone pointed out in this class only that in new NCERT they are used interchangeably. But R.S. Sharma tells you that there is a difference. जो dasas हैं, they are perhaps early inhabitants, early Aryans, because they are also mentioned in Iranian textbooks. जो dasyus हैं, they may be early inhabitants of Indian region, but in both the cases, dasas and dasyus are enemies. So second statement is also wrong. The only answer ओनली करेक्ट इज 3, सी है आंसर हमारा। हाँ जी, अच्छा सॉरी एक सेकेंड, तो यहाँ पे कोई भी ऑप्शन सही नहीं है। नहीं यहाँ पे फिर आंसर, सॉरी यहाँ पे फिर कोई भी ऑप्शन सही नहीं है। ये एक्चुअली मैंने स्टेट क्वेश्चन को जहां से पिक करा था मैंने थोड़ा चेंज किया था इसमें, बट आई फॉरगॉट टू चेंज द ऑप्शन, सॉरी। क्वेश्चन नंबर 4, with reference to changes in later Vedic period, consider the following statements. The popular assemblies of, ये इतना मरमर क्यों कर रहे हो आप, आराम से सोच के बता सकते हो आंसर। The popular assemblies of Vidatha, Sabha and Samiti completely disappeared in later Vedic times. Is that correct? That is not correct. They are definitely there, but now kings and priestly class, they have the major say. Indra and Agni as supreme Rig Vedic gods lost their importance in later Vedic period. Is this correct? That is correct, right? The institution of Gotra appeared in later Vedic period and people began to practice Gotra exogamy. What about this? That actually is true. So the Gotra system hai, in fact Gotra mein bhi dekho, the word is go, guy. So Gotra system literally means, it literally means that region where cattle are kept. Understand this. Gotra system literally means region where cattle are kept. So what it means is that people belonging to one region. So it starts with this, but later it becomes that people who have same patrilineal or matrilineal line, कि जिनके ancestors same है. तो Gotra exogamy, so even though caste marriage is there, but Gotra exogamy is there. Endogamy, caste, but Gotra exogamy. So even today it is practiced that even though intercaste marriages are frowned upon, but लोग अपने गोत्र में शादी नहीं करते हैं, कि अपने गोत्र में शादी नहीं करना because कोई ना कोई common ancestor है. So the term means as a place where cattle are kept, but it becomes known as common ancestor. So answer here is A. Question number 5. सॉरी मैं थोड़ा साइड हो जाता हूं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 का क्या आंसर है? थोड़ा रिवाइज करना पड़ेगा नोट्स, ये तो नोट्स से है, इसमें कुछ भी मैंने अलग से नहीं ऐड करा है. इट वॉज फॉट ऑन द रिवर अस्किनी प्रेजेंटली नोन एज चेनाब. कहां पे हुआ था? कौन सा पारुष्णी रिवर? रावी रिवर. तो इट वॉज फॉट ऑन द रिवर रावी विच एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वॉज नोन एज पारुष्णी रिवर. So first is wrong. What about second? Who emerged victorious? Bharats. The term Bharat Varsh is known after Bharat tribe. So second statement is also wrong. However, Bharats definitely entered into an alliance with Purus, which becomes Kuru, which is also mentioned in Mahabharat, by the way. Right? जो Kuru Vansh जो पूरा concept है. So they become Kuru, and Kurus and Panchals, they emerged as the most powerful kingdoms. So answer is here D, neither 1 nor 2. What about question number 6? Question number 6 and more answers. 6 is easy. He was a contemporary of both Buddha and Mahavir. That is true. He pursued a three-pronged policy: matrimonial alliances, friendship, conquest. That is also true. He made Patliputra as his capital. That is not correct. That was done by Udayin much later. So 1 and 2 is. Question number 7 देखो. Come on, answers. C. Okay. B. Someone is saying B. So either B or C. फर्स्ट किसके टाइम हुआ था? अजात शत्रु. व्हेन बुद्धा डाइड, अजात शत्रु कहां पे हुआ थे? राजगृह में. सो फर्स्ट बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल एट राजगृह अंडर अजात शत्रु. फर्स्ट इज रॉन्ग. द मोमेंट वहीं से आंसर आ गया आपका. 4 इज करेक्ट. बाकी हमको देखना भी नहीं है. यू नो फर्स्ट इज रॉन्ग, करेक्ट आंसर हमारा आ गया. बट सेकेंड देख लो. सेकेंड काल अशोक, राइट. थर्ड अशोक एंड फोर्थ कनिष्क. So only answer correct here is C. What about this question? Question number 8. तो देखो इतना सारा इंफॉर्मेशन है, पर जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है सुदर्शन लेक का जो रिपेयर वर्क है, यही से आंसर आ गया रुद्र दमन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 का आंसर इज बी, रुद्र दमन. वेरी फेमसली पार्ट ऑफ जूनागढ़ इंस्क्रिप्शन. ये जूनागढ़ रॉक इंस्क्रिप्शन है, दैट मेंशंस दिस वर्क, रुद्र दमन रिपेयरिंग द सुदर्शन लेक. एंड लास्ट 2 क्वेश्चंस. ये अब टाइम वाला क्वेश्चन है, टाइम पीरियड थोड़ा सा. Who of the following were preaching in India when Ashoka ruled the Magad? He's saying D. Anyways, D. Okay. मोर पीपल. क्या होगा आंसर? क्वाइट इजी है. सो बुद्धा डेफिनेटली नॉट करेक्ट. तो बुद्धा डाइड व्हेन अजात शत्रु वाज रूलिंग मगध, राइट. मौर्याज बहुत बाद में आते हैं, और अशोक तो चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य का ग्रैंडसन है, तो बहुत बाद में आता है अशोक. सो फर्स्ट इज रॉन्ग. द मोमेंट फर्स्ट इज रॉन्ग, आई हैव एलिमिनेटेड ए एंड सी. And Adi Shankaracharya, he was active in early medieval period, right? Founder of Advait Vedanta. So ये तो बिल्कुल ही गलत है. So answer here is none. Makhalli Goshala was a contemporary of Buddha. I talked about this in last class. Found Ajivika, associated with Ajivika philosophy, right? Question number 10, last question. देखो ऐसे क्वेश्चन को आंसर करने के लिए हमको एग्जैक्ट ईयर जानने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. जस्ट थिंक, आई एम वेरी श्योर यू विल कम टू द राइट आंसर. देखो ऑप्शन देख के एक चीज तो क्लियर है कि 1 2 पहले है, फिर 3 4 है, उसमें आप अरेंज कर लो. सो डी, समवन इज सेइंग डी, समवन इज सेइंग ए. देख लेते हैं एक बार. आई डू नॉट हैव टू रिमेंबर, एज आई टोल्ड यू, आई डू नॉट हैव टू रिमेंबर ईयर हियर. सेकेंड बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल कब होता है? When is, who is the ruler? Kala Ashok. Before Mauryas? Definitely before Mauryas, right? So Haranyak dynasty, Shishunag dynasty. Kala Ashok belonged to Shishunag. Second is changing of capital of Magad from Rajgir to Patliputra. That happens by Udayin. He belongs to Haranyak dynasty. Who came earlier? Compilation of Arthashastra by Chanakya. That happens when Chandragupta Maurya is ruling. And establishment of Shunga dynasty in Magad. That happens end of Mauryan dynasty. अब क्या होगा आंसर? राइट तो आंसर आ गया हमारा. तो सेकेंड बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल काला शोक, दिस इज उदयन. सो उदयन ने जो कैपिटल चेंज करा है, ही बिलोंग टू हरण्यक डायनेस्टी, नॉट शिशुनाग. सो 2 becomes earlier, then 1, then 3, then 4. सो आंसर विल बी D, 2, 1, 3, 4. क्लियर है? तो हमको एग्जैक्ट ईयर जानने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. We do not have to know, and in many questions you will read, especially ancient और medieval के जो questions हैं, we do not have to even know the exact year. Try to remember things in themes. I will repeat this again and again. हमारे themes clear होने चाहिए कि हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा है अभी तक, और more or less हमारा एक time period. I will again repeat. Remember time periods first as a century, right? First as a century, in which century this particular event happened. After century, now go to, you can divide into either early or later. Early means first 50 years, later means next 50 years. And then you can know about decade, and if you can also remember the year. But even if you can arrive at this early or later wala period, after century, that will also solve a lot of questions. And definitely अगर decadal तक पहुंच जाओगे तो most of the questions आपके solve हो जाएंगे कि कौन से decade में हो रहा है. Except modern history. Modern history में आपको थोड़ा precise होना पड़ेगा. In modern history things will be asked because ज़्यादा बड़ा है नहीं, हमको सिर्फ पिछले 200 साल का पढ़ना है, तो उसमें फिर 200 साल भी नहीं पढ़ना, इनफैक्ट 70 साल और ही दो, राइट? तो वहां पे बहुत ज़्यादा है नहीं, तो वहां पे फिर फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू हैव टू बी मोर, इवन इफ यू कांट रिमेंबर एग्जैक्ट ईयर्स, बट मोर और लेस पता होना चाहिए कि क्या हो रहा था, तो वहां पे थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा प्रिसाइज होना पड़ेगा. इन एंशिएंट मिडिवल हिस्ट्री exact precision is not required. Anyways, write down Satavahanas, give the heading. Satavahanas. यहाँ पे just write down few things. In the northern region, Mauryas were succeeded by Shungs. Mauryas were succeeded by Shungs, who were succeeded by Kanwas. However, in Deccan region and central India, Satvahana emerged as the most powerful kingdom just before the starting of Christian era. And the kingdom remained for more than 100 years. Kingdom remained for more than 100 years. more than 100 years. The last Kanva ruler was defeated by a Satvahana ruler. Who at that point were also known as Andhras. तो जो आंध्र प्रदेश है यहाँ से आता है Andhras. So Andhra as a tribe is mentioned in some textbooks. Now historians feel that Andhra as a tribe and Satvahanas, they are same. कि जो Andhra tribe है, after they become Vedicized, they become part of this larger Aryan fold, they emerge as the Satvahana. So this is the starting point of Satvahana. Write down. The kingdom majorly comprised of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. However, also included regions of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, and Madhya Pradesh. So this is the region where they were mainly active. You can look at the map. This is the region. जो गोदावरी river है, that is the main center, because ये जो surrounding area है, not only it is very fertile, but other regions here in this part, it also had some very rich mines. So they also got to know about iron as well as other mines of copper. Because of this, the region became very prosperous. So I told you in the first and second class that how one region becomes prosperous, another declines. Lot of factors come together. So for example, this region became prosperous because of this agriculturally fertile region as well as discovery of many new mines. Write down. The kingdom had two different capitals at different times. The kingdom had, so Mayank is saying, can you repeat the paragraph? So Satvahana majorly comprised of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and parts of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka as well as Madhya Pradesh. The kingdom had two different capital at two different times. Amaravati was their main capital. While Patisthana, which is Pathan is a city in Maharashtra. Patisthana was also a capital at one point of time. आप ब्रैकेट में लिख सकते हो, this is right now Pathan, a city in Maharashtra. The earliest mention of Satvahanas earliest mention of Satavahanas belongs to 1st century BCE, belongs to 1st century BCE, when they defeated Kanvas, and established their supremacy in Deccan region. Established their supremacy in Deccan region. Write down the next bullet point. So the founder of Satvahana is known as Simuka. Simuka is considered as founder of the Satvahana dynasty. Founder of the Satvahana dynasty. The third king of Satvahana, the third king of the dynasty, write down next bullet point. The third king of dynasty, Satkarni I. The third king of dynasty, Satkarni I. Pinpointing a year is very, very difficult, but if we have to, this will be the year when he was Satkarni, the third king of dynasty, Satkarni I, defeated Kaling after the death of Chedi king Kharavela. Chedi king Kharavela. So बस एक लाइन में हमको याद रख लेना है, जो कलिंग, Odisha will always remain a very, very important kingdom throughout this history. Odisha will remain a very important kingdom. जो Kaling, which is known as Kaling in the ancient times. जैसे it's very difficult to pinpoint that who Ashoka defeated, but some texts mention, Pali text mentioned, the Kaling king who Ashoka defeated, his name is Mahapadmanabha. Again, you will not find this in historical textbook, but some Buddhist Pali texts, they mention that Mahapadmanabha. Pinpointing the dynasty and everything, that is very difficult. But later, a dynasty, when Mauryans declined, a new dynasty known as Chedi dynasty emerges as the powerful kings of Kalinga. And the greatest king of Chedi dynasty is Kharavela, who reclaims the lost glory of Kalinga empire from Magad. But when Kharavela dies, again his successors are not that competent, and later they are defeated by Satvahanas, Satkarni I. ठीक है, तो ये बस एक सिंपल सा थीम है. हाँ जी. I have not read it. Kshetriya. Again, I have not read it. I have read Chedi dynasty, but I don't know. I will have to go and confirm it. So by the way, जैसे उड़ीसा का मैं बता रहा था आपको, जैसे Odisha has always remained a very powerful kingdom. Even in medieval times, for example, when Eastern Ganga dynasty, who made these great temples, Konark और Jagannath Puri temple, जो हम UNESCO World Heritage sites हैं. So, जैसे for Eastern Ganga dynasty, they were very powerful. Or when they were finally defeated, Gajpati rulers emerged. They were also very powerful. So Odisha has remained. People have tried to conquer Odisha. Most of the times they failed. Sometimes they won, but the empire always came back. Different dynasties ruled Odisha, but it has remained. Again, this is a theme I feel like I did not study in my school textbooks. ये जो ओडिशा एज अ पावरफुल किंगडम है, और फॉर दैट मैटर आई डिड नॉट स्टडी इन डिटेल अबाउट असम, जो पूरा कामरूप किंगडम है, दैट रिमेन्ड अ वेरी पावरफुल किंगडम फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग. एनीवेज वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट लेटर. द ग्रेटेस्ट किंग ऑफ द डायनेस्टी, राइट डाउन. The greatest king of the dynasty was Gautami Putra Satkarni. Gautami Putra Satkarni. He ruled from 106 to 130 AD. Now we have entered into Christian era. That is true, Nikunj. Satkarni assumed the title of Lord of Dakshinpath. That is actually true. The greatest king of the dynasty was Gautami Putra. Hanji. Sorry? I will come to that. अभी हमने खत्म नहीं करा. I will come to that. That's actually a very important question. I will come to that. कि ये matrilineal जो, so no, it is not. Patriarchy is definitely there, but women definitely have some role to play. और women का status it's not as bad as say for example जो early periods में या later periods में हम देखते हैं. One of the clue is in their name. Gautami is actually mother of Satkarni. So all the kings, they are known by their name of their mothers. But succession is not matrilineal. Succession is always patrilineal. जो son है, eldest son है, he will be successor. So society is definitely, silent करो. Society is definitely patriarchal, right? But they are known by their mother's name. Write down the next point. Gautami, he called himself as a great Brahman ruler. He called himself as a great Brahman ruler. Great Brahman ruler who defeated Shakas, and many Kshatriyas. Many Kshatriyas. His kingdom expanded to Krishna in south, Malwa and Saurashtra in north, Berar in the east, and Konkan in the west. Nasik inscription mentions, write down, Nasik inscription mentions that he was destroyer of Shakas, Pallavas and Yavanas. Shakas, I will not use the word Pallava because that can become confusing with later Pallavas. पल्लवास का भी ओरिजिन देखो बहुत डिबेटेबल है. अभी हम पल्लवास रूलर्स के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे जब हम सदर्न इंडिया को विल रिविजिट वंस वी डिस्कस अबाउट चोला चेरा पांड्या. सो इट इज एक्चुअली नोन एज पहलवास एंड जो यवन रूलर्स हैं दे आर ग्रीक रूलर्स. रिमेंबर दिस, द टर्म यवन बेसिकली मीन्स Greeks. He is also described as, he was also described as एक ब्राह्मण, एक ब्राह्मण, एक ब्राह्मण इटली मीन्स पियरलेस ब्राह्मण, एक ब्राह्मण जिसका कोई गुरु कोई पेयर नहीं है, एक ब्राह्मण एंड क्षत्रिय दाप मनमद. It literally means destroyer of pride of Kshatriyas. Destroyer of Kshatriyas' pride. Kshatriya Dap Manmad. Manmad means pride. Dap means who tames this pride. So Kshatriya Dap Manmad. He was named after his mother like other Satvahana kings. He was named after his mother like other Satvahana kings. Like other Satvahana kings. For example, the son of, don't write it, the son of Satvahana Gautami Putra is Vasisthi Putra Satkarni. Right? तो ये सारा नाम ऐसे आपको दिखेगा कि they are known by their names. Give the next heading. Administration of Satvahanas. Administration of Satvahanas. Administration of Satvahanas. Write down here in bullet points. Rajan or king Pulmavi, sorry, I'm so sorry. Nidhi is actually correct. His name was not Satkarni, it was Pulmavi. So Vasisthi Putra Pulmavi. Son of Gautami Putra Satkarni is Vasisthi Putra Pulmavi. Write down. Administration में लिखना, write down in bullet points. Rajan or the king was supreme authority. Rajan or the king was the supreme authority. Write down next bullet point. Maharathis had the power of granting villages, and the privilege of maintaining marital relationship with ruling family. Privilege of maintaining marital relationship with ruling family. King was assisted by Mahasenapati and Mahatalwar. King was assisted by Mahasenapati and Mahatalwar. महातलवार. The administration in rural area, the administration of rural area, the administration of rural area belonged to Golmika, belonged to Golmika. Golmika is a village headman. सभी मुखिया सरपंच जैसे होते हैं. Satvahana started, write down, this is a very important point. Satvahana started the practice of granting tax-free villages to Brahmins and Buddhist monks. To Brahmins and Buddhist monks. ये एक पूरा टर्म हम यूज करते हैं, which I will keep using this term. आप ब्रैकेट में लिख सकते हो. It is called ब्रह्मदेय. Brahmadeya literally means land which was awarded by the king to Brahmins, and many rulers declared this land to be tax free. Brahmadeya. They bestowed great titles upon themselves. The kings, write down, the kings bestowed great titles upon themselves. The king bestowed I do not have a good Hindi translation of bestowed, but it literally means to give itself. It means, sorry? Dharan karna, chalo, thank you. So the king bestowed himself great titles such as Rajya Raja, Maharaja, Dakshin Pathpati, Lord of Dakshin Path. Dakshin Pathpati. Give the heading next. Religion. Maharathis, we can say that they are warrior class. The Maharathis basically ये जैसे है feudatory setup है, तो इसमें जो सबसे powerful feudatories हैं, who have also the privilege, for example, they can marry into the ruling clan, right? Religion, write down. Satvahanas belonged to the Hindu religion. Satvahana belonged to the Hindu religion. They claimed themselves to be Brahmins. However, they also made great donations They also made great donations to Buddhist monks, to Buddhist monasteries, to Buddhist monasteries. The official language was Prakrit. The official language was Prakrit. The official language was Prakrit in Brahmi script. In Brahmi script. Give the next heading social society, a social hierarchy. Social hierarchy. सोशल हायरार्की. एक लाइन यहां पे लिख सकते हो आप. दे Satavahana rulers as a duty upheld the fourfold Varna system. As a duty upheld the fourfold Varna system. The artisan and merchant class, write down the next point. The artisan and merchant class. The artisans and merchant class flourished because of increasing trade and commerce. Because of increasing trade and commerce. Merchants named themselves after the towns they belonged to. Merchants named themselves after the towns they belonged to. एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फीचर बताता हूँ यहाँ पे. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल गंधिकाज were perfumers who made scents, perfumes. So initially they were perfumers. Later all shopkeepers became Gandhikas, and from where the title Gandhi, which is very famous, right? So वहां से आता है, and it goes back to the Satavahana rule. जो टाइटल गांधी है, आप लिख सकते हो इनफैक्ट इसको. गंधिकाज इसी में, हाँ इसी पॉइंट में लिख लेना. Gandhikas are perfumers who made perfumes. Gandhikas are mentioned as great donors. Gandhikas are mentioned as great donors. However, the term later was identified with shopkeepers. The title Gandhi is derived from this. The title Gandhi is derived from this. And एक लास्ट पॉइंट इसमें लिख लेना. The king was named after his mother. The king was named after his mother. The king was named after his mother, which signifies higher status of woman in society. Higher status of woman. एक काम करो, not write higher because that is a comparative term. Just write high status of woman in society. However, the society was still patriarchal. However, the society was still patriarchal. Society was still patriarchal. Simply because the succession is patrilineal, right? King का बेटा वो राजा बनेगा. So succession was patrilineal. So even though this fact that king is named after his mother, it tells you that women had perhaps they had better position in society, but the society was still patriarchal. Write down last heading दे देना. Economy of Satavahanas. Even though agriculture was the backbone, even though the agriculture was the backbone, even though agriculture was the backbone, the economy was also dependent on trade and production of various commodities. इसी में नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिख लेना. Satavahana coins were generally made of silver, copper and lead. Generally copper, silver and lead. The coins were punch marked. Many religious symbols, animal motifs, as well as images of ships, ships, जहाज, ships. Were present on these coins. तो जैसे चैत्य, शंख, जो कौंच जो है, और स्वास्तिक, ये सारे जो है मोटिव्स मिलते हैं अलग अलग कॉइन्स पे. एक लास्ट लाइन राइट डाउन इन नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ. Pulmavi 4 is considered as the last king who ruled until 225 AD, who ruled until 225 AD. After his death, empire fragmented into 5 smaller kingdoms. Into 5 smaller kingdoms. देखो बहुत अलग अलग जगह लिखा हुआ है. अभिषेक इज सेइंग इट इज पुलुमवी, कहीं पे पुलामवी भी लिखा हुआ है, राइट? तो ये एग्जैक्ट ट्रांसलेट करना थोड़ा मुश्किल है यहाँ पे. सिंपली एक जो सिंबल होता है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आपने कॉइन बनाया, मैन्युफैक्चर करते वक्त आपने एक सिंबल डाल दिया. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आवर कॉइन्स हैव दिस. अभी जो आपने अगर आप यूज करते हो तो क्या जैसे एक लिखा होगा या अलग अलग, जैसे भारत का मैप बना होगा पुराने कॉइन्स में, या अशोका इंस्क्रिप्शन जो होगा वो होगा. So things like that. So a symbol basically. Let's take a break here. After the break we will now shift our focus to further south. We will talk about Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Hello. Okay. In first class I told you about sources of history. Right, we talked about various sources. I introduced a term called population genetics, which is rather a very new tool. You need to understand this. This is a very new tool which is being more and more popular, especially to understand where people came from, जो migratory routes हैं. So I told you that अभी जो सबसे one theory where a lot of scientists agrees to, lot of geneticists जो genetics का study करते हैं, जो population genetics का study करते हैं, they agree to a fact that the successful migration occurred from Africa about 70,000 years ago. There may have been migrations before, but those people who tried to migrate earlier or who migrated earlier, they did not survive. They did not have any ancestry line. The successful migration that actually happened about 70,000 years ago from Africa. So all human beings, they originated, all of us originated from Africa, a region of Africa, right? We know that, I told you, जैसे genetics में few tools like mitochondrial DNA or Y-DNA, ये matrilineal and patrilineal line आपका बहुत ही accurately predict कर सकता है. We can also derive at time. तो एक तो हमने ancestry पता कर लिया, but जैसे for example, the question is that how can I say that it happened 70,000 years ago? So that also can be done, because as species progress, mutations occur. Biology के क्लास में आपको mutations के बारे में डिटेल में पढ़ाएंगे. Genetic changes, थोड़े बहुत genetic changes होते रहेंगे. तो जो म्यूटेशन का रेट होता है दैट कैन बी डिटरमिन्ड. म्यूटेशन का रेट प्रेडिक्ट करना बहुत मुश्किल है, बट ओवरऑल एक पिक्चर बना सकते हो आप कि आफ्टर हाउ लॉन्ग हाउ मच म्यूटेशन वन कैन एक्सपेक्ट. एंड देन वी कैन कोरिलेट दैट डेटा विथ क्लाइमेटिक डेटा कि व्हाट इज द सुटेबल टाइम टू माइग्रेट और माइग्रेशन विल बी सक्सेसफुल. तो हम सुटेबल क्लाइमेटिक डेटा के हिसाब से वी कैन कम टू अ कंक्लूजन. फर्दर वी कैन देन यूज लिंग्विस्टिक्स, that there are common languages. For example, across all the languages of India, all the major languages, the significant population hai, can mainly be categorized into 4 parts. The first is Austro-Asiatic languages. Indo-Aryan is the last one. The Indo-European languages, that is the last one. Tibetan languages, Dravidian languages, and then Indo-Aryan languages. So then we do linguistic analysis, that we try to understand the common words, common phrases, as well as the letters, how they sound. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंग्लिश हिंदी में आपने एक बेसिक डिफरेंस देखा होगा, दैट इन हिंदी वी हैव जेंडर फॉर वर्ब ऑल्सो. मैं खाता हूं, मैं खाती हूं. बट इन इंग्लिश इट डजंट हैव. आई ईट, सिंपल, इट आई ईट. देयर इज नो खाता हूं खाती हूं का कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है वहां पे. तो ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें हैं कि हाउ लैंग्वेजेस आर डिफरेंट. एंड बाय द वे बोथ हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश, दे बिलोंग टू Indo-European group of languages. But still, this is a significant difference. So linguistic analysis, climatic analysis, population genetics, all of that plays a very important role in deconstructing ancient history. Why I am mentioning all these things, I have already told you about all these things, that we want to understand that what happened in southern part of the country. And the reason I am emphasizing a lot on this, because this is again a very political question. There is a lot of politics which has happened with respect to identity of Dravidians and how they are different from North Indians. Right? This was a very famous theory which developed during Britishers. And the allegation of जो right-wing historians हैं, जो nationalist historians थे, for example, one of the great names is R.C. Majumdar. तो जो R.C. से एक जैसे आपने आप सबने पढ़ा होगा कि historical writing में there are biases. You must have read this. This is by the way accurate also. जैसे इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल रिसर्च जो है, इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल रिसर्च एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वाज मोनोपोलाइज्ड बाय लेफ्ट विंग हिस्टोरियंस. सो जो नेशनलिस्ट हिस्टोरियंस हुए वेरी पॉपुलर, फॉर एग्जांपल आरसी मजुमदार इज अ ग्रेट नेम. दैट इंटायर ब्रांच ऑफ लाइक स्टडिंग हिस्ट्री फ्रॉम अ इंडिजिनस पर्सपेक्टिव, दैट डिक्लाइंड. अब इसका कारण क्या है? इसके देखिए, इसको कारण बहुत पॉलिटिकल रीजंस हैं. इसके कारण बहुत सारे पॉलिटिकल रीजंस हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई वाज रिसेंटली लिसनिंग टू शशि थरूर, एंड शशि थरूर आल्सो एक्सेप्टेड दिस फैक्ट दैट फॉर एग्जांपल जो atrocities which were committed by Sultanate during medieval time, they were diluted just to ensure that there is Hindu-Muslim unity, right? But इसका फिर counter point ये होता है कि when you try to suppress facts, then आप घाव भर नहीं रहे हो, right? आप उसको बस आप बढ़ने दे रहे हो, फिर वो नासूर बनेगा. तो जो क्लीवेजेस हैं सोसाइटी में, कि सोसाइटी में क्लीवेजेस हैं, वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस, दैट सोसाइटी में क्लीवेजेस हैं, डिफरेंसेस. Cleavages is differences which when they become bigger. We need to address that. Running away from the problem is not a solution. So there is a bias in historical writing. Anyways, ये debate हम करेंगे जब हम medieval India की class करेंगे, हम discuss करेंगे इसको detail में. Right now I'm talking about another difference. जैसे nationalist historians projected, they started saying that this is also a project by Britishers to further divide us. हिंदू मुस्लिम डिवीजन तो करा ही, ऑल्दो आई डू नॉट से, आई डू नॉट एग्री टू दैट. उन्होंने करा था, उन्होंने उसको और बढ़ाया. आप समझ रहे हैं? हिंदू मुस्लिम डिफरेंसेस वेयर देयर, बट दे वेर फर्दर, ये जो रादर देन क्रिएटिंग अ ब्रिज बिटवीन टू रिलीजन्स, टू इंपॉर्टेंट रिलीजन्स ऑफ इंडिया, दे फर्दर created more and more divisions between these two religions. So they effectively utilized this difference which existed in the society for their rule, right? And that created what we, so for example, what is happening right now. The divisions are still there. Maybe these divisions are only increasing. And that is not a good thing. That is frankly a dangerous thing. मतलब जैसे अभी तक तो ऐसे होता नहीं कि अब तो हर महीने चीजें चेंज हो रही हैं. Things are changing very rapidly. How the things which are happening right now, how it will lead to 10 years, 50 years down the line, these are not good signs. So हमारे एक रहना, देखो यूनिटी बहुत जरूरी है, मतलब कोई डाउट ही नहीं है. तो the reason why I am mentioning all these things is that there was another project which is, as I told you, nationalist historians claim that the identity of North Indians and South Indians, that South Indians, Dravidians are the original inhabitants, Aryans are foreigners. Okay? So Aryans are foreigners, everyone is a foreigner. That is what we need to understand first. I will keep repeating this thing, that every one of us, successful migration from Africa occurred about 70,000 years, every one of us is a foreigner. Except perhaps, for example, the original inhabitants hain, people of Andaman Nicobar, some communities of Andaman Nicobar, for example, Jarawas, they can claim that their lineage goes back to the first human beings who reached Indian subcontinent about 50,000 years ago. They can claim that. that they are, otherwise anyone else cannot claim it. So entire history is history of migration. However, the answer to this question, that how North Indians and Dravidians are different, the answer is no, they are not. We owe our lineage, our ancestry to a lot of groups, and both North Indians and South Indians have commonalities with Indus Valley people, people of Indus Valley. तो ये जो पूरा का पूरा ये था कि Indus Valley people, they, because of Aryans, even if there was no invasion, but they shifted to South India, and to distinct culture, there is some element of truth to it. So let's try to understand. We have to be imaginative here. ये history नहीं है, कोई written down history नहीं है, कोई written हमारे पास वो नहीं है, but we can arrive at some logical conclusions that what may have occurred. And again, this is just a theory, that Indus Valley civilization declined because of adverse climatic condition. People shifted eastward and southward. Few hundred years, 100, 200, so about 1900 BC, Indus Valley declines. Around 1500 BC, Aryans come to India. 300-400 साल बाद. This interaction with Aryans leads to a culture, a unique culture in the northern part of the country, while people who may have shifted, and by the way, this is based on the assumption that other people are already not part of South India. That is also an assumption, right? Why are we thinking कि when Indus Valley was prospering, southern part जो है वहाँ पे कोई नहीं था? We cannot say that. So, but the thing with history is that whatever we have record of, चाहे वो archaeology हो, चाहे वो मान लो genetics हो, language हो, हम उसी को use करके, inscriptions हो, books हो, हम उसी को use करके deconstruct करेंगे. That is how prehistory and history is different. So we have to be imaginative here. So what is happening here, that few hundred years Aryans came, a syncretic, a distinct culture emerged. As population increases, empires emerge, interaction of people who are no longer the original Aryans who came to India. Even original Aryans are divided into early and later. I'm talking about even hundred of years later. I'm talking about, say for example, Mauryan period, when Chandragupta Maurya is ruling country, right? And finally with his conquest, let's not use the word finally, maybe interaction has occurred earlier also, we have no way of knowing that. But definitely interaction starts occurring more in southern part of the country, right? So even more and more tribes which have inhabited southern part, southern territory, they came in contact with Aryans. Again a new syncretic culture emerges. So local customs, local culture, local religions, as well as religions which is prevalent, cultures, customs prevalent in the northern part, that interacted, and that led to its own distinct identity which has features from both these regions, but at the same time it has its own unique features. All cultural interactions occur in this way. If it is not a cultural conquest, if one region is not trying to completely annihilate another culture, if the purpose is coexistence, then this is how things will develop, right? So for example, we talked about Satavahanas. Satavahanas may have been tribes, those tribes are known as Andhras. And Andhras later became Satavahanas, who have been Vedicized, who have adopted Brahminical religion, but at the same time I'm very sure they have their own customs. Those customs became part of this larger Aryan fold, right? For example, very important custom is a political rule. A Brahman is ruling a territory. They claim themselves to be Brahman, not Kshatriyas. Abhi tak kya hai ki Kshatriyas will rule, Brahman will help them, Brahman will support them. Brahmans will not be the ruling class, but here Brahman is the ruling class. So this is a major distinction, but I'm very sure that there are many minor distinctions, many customs, many practices, some local tribal god which became who became part of the larger pantheon of Hindu gods. That may have occurred, right? Further down the south, what is happening? तो जो earliest mention है, जो earliest हमको पता चलता है southern history के बारे में, that actually we get to know from mortuary analysis. This is very interesting. We have to be, again, we are trying to imagine here that what may have occurred. People of Indus Valley have shifted here. Maybe there are some other inhabitants already here. Maybe again a syncretic culture has emerged. So we do not have any written record of people of South India in before Christ era. मतलब before Christ era में at least before 2nd century BC हमारे पास बहुत ज़्यादा information नहीं है. हमारे पास एक ही information है, वो है archaeological sources. There are no written records. Languages, linguistic analysis is something which has survived. So there is a very important theory, I have already told you this, that maybe people of Indus Valley, the languages they spoke, it is very similar to Dravidian languages. Again, this is only a theory, because we do not know about the languages about Indus Valley people. We can only come to this conclusion. But there are some good reasons why we can say it. For example, there are people of Balochistan, tribes of Balochistan who speak Dravidian languages, common to many Dravidian languages. Then there are other tribes of India, tribes of Jharkhand, they speak Dravidian languages. So the language, maybe जो language है, that was preserved. Other aspects of culture, interaction with Aryans, not exactly Aryans, but Aryans further have interacted with local tribes. They are no longer the original Aryans. They are interacting with people who inhabited South India. And further a syncretic culture may have emerged, but language was preserved. So this is again just a theory that even though ancestral analysis may, both North Indians and South Indians, we owe our ancestry to people of Indus Valley also, Aryans also, other migrants who came later, them also. But maybe language was preserved in South India. And again, this is a maybe, this is not a sure shot theory. Okay? So linguistic analysis and mortuary analysis plays a very important role in doing the prehistory period of South India. And it turns out, and this is again very interesting, that around same time, 2nd century BC, not only in India, but this is a great coincidence that in other parts of the world, even as far as Norway is very far from India, right? Suddenly people are doing, जो dead body hai, they are placing the dead body in a very similar manner. That there is a center where dead body is placed, and around this center, stones are kept, and these stones become larger and larger. So this is not just one circle of stones. There are concentric circles of stones. And again, it is not same exactly at all the places, but stones emerge which occupy this dead body. So these are called megaliths. जो early historical record of South India hai, this culture is called megalithic culture, and megalith is not because of the stone tools or copper tools. It is how they practiced how their burial practice was. So the earliest record, this is also very interesting, the earliest record of history in southern India is the burial practices. अभी मैंने वैसे last year पढ़ा था कि तमिलनाडु में a village was being dug, and we found that there are very ancient houses which may have, which are perhaps emerged at the same time when Indus Valley was prospering. So I don't know, I haven't read anything, any research paper on that news, but I remember reading this news. I think 2 साल पहले का मैं news बता रहा हूँ कि एक village मिला था तमिलनाडु में, and lot of people are saying that it coexisted with Indus Valley civilization. अभी तक हमको कोई भी further down the south कोई भी Indus Valley site नहीं मिला है, इतने south में नहीं मिला है. So again, we have to do more analysis to understand the age and the practices of the village which was found in Tamil Nadu. So maybe it is happening, maybe perhaps it will become part of our textbook later. जो नई हिस्ट्री बुक्स लिखी जाएंगी उसमें वो ऐड होगा. तो अभी जो हमारे पास रिकॉर्ड है, जो पहला रिकॉर्ड है, दैट इज मेगालिथिक कल्चर. तो अभी जो भी हमने टर्म यूज करा था, नियोलिथिक और मेसोलिथिक और चालकोल, ये दिस वाज बेस्ड ऑन टाइप ऑफ टूल्स विच वेर अप्लाइड एज वेल एज द सबसिस्टेंट स्ट्रैटेजी. तो यहाँ पे सबसिस्टेंट स्ट्रैटेजी को गेस करना बहुत मुश्किल है. आर दे पास्टोरल कम्युनिटी? Are they agricultural community? Are they shifting from one place to another place? But one thing is very common in this region, in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, is their mortuary practices. And let me show you few of the megalith burials which have been found in this region. These are 3 different pictures. At the center, and these concentric circles of stones. This is again another center. Stones are kept, and at the center there is a dead body. This is also another center. So we have found many such sites in southern India. Not only this, as I told you, we have found such sites even in Norway around at the same time, which is a great coincidence. Or I don't know why is it so. We do not have any theory. As of now, we think that this is a coincidence. Even in Norway, you have found such megalith burials. So megalith burials will be the starting. It can be considered. R.A. Sharma says that dawn of history in South India. Dawn of history in South India. Simply because, and we need to understand, history as a term, history as a discipline, they are two different things. History as a discipline simply means where we can decipher history, where we can know about things. We have written record. We can do some analysis. History as a term means it can mean whatever in past it existed. So we do not have any way of knowing कि क्या था कुछ था. तो हमको जब पता चलेगा कि हाँ ठीक है, we have found some records. This is the starting point, that we have found many megalithic burials, and ये जो megalithic culture है, that is known by their burials. ये starting point है. जो written part of history है South India का, that starts with great texts written in Tamil, early Tamil, which are called Sangam texts. And Sangam texts, as Sangam, and by the way, we do not have all the records of Sangam texts. We only have the some record of second Sangam. So Sangam is nothing but, Sangam literally means coming together, right? So Sangam was a meeting of poets, of Tamil poets, who belong to different part of the region. They came together as part of the assembly, and they compiled Tamil literature. In the first Sangam, maybe this was not compiled on a piece of paper. Maybe it was compiled orally, that people interacted among themselves. So we have, because, why I'm saying that? Because we have no record of the first Sangam. We have some record of second, and we have detailed record of third Sangam. So the Sangam literature hai, that gives you the first written record of history of South India. And it mentions three important kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. And it mentions that Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas, all of them were fighting among themselves. At point they also had entered into some sort of alliance. Two of them entered into alliance to defeat the third. At time there are matrimonial alliances also. But एक चीज जो common है across these three kingdoms, that all these three kingdoms prospered because of their trade relationship with European regions also. We have found great ports. Those ports were used to trade with even Greeks and later Romans also, right? तो ये जो पूरा written record of history है, that starts with Sangam age. But before Sangam age we have megalithic culture. So just write down, give this heading. हाँ जी. Buddhism. Within the Hindus, like against Kshatriya, because they are claimed themselves as Brahmins. Mm-hmm. But in other inscriptions, they were mentioned that they gave huge donation to Buddhists. They are very contemporary. So that's a very good question. So what we need to understand is that Satavahana is a more than 100 years of phase, right? तो ऐसा तो है नहीं कि एक ही एटीट्यूड हम बना के रखेंगे. तो इसका एक आंसर ये है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल व्हाट हिज क्वेश्चन इज, ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट हिज क्वेश्चन इज that he is asking that at some inscriptions we find that Satavahanas, they are intolerant of Kshatriyas. In fact, even for Buddhism, they are intolerant of Buddhism also at some inscriptions, but at the same time, we also find that they gave huge grants to Buddhist monasteries, even more grants than Brahmins. So that can be answered perhaps a change in attitude of later kings. They may have realized that a conflict, for example, religion plays a very important role in maintaining your political authority. So when you patronage a religion, right, ये जो religious gurus and ulemas who are sitting with political leaders, there is a reason it happens, right? For saying such things I can get in trouble nowadays, but but there is a reason ये जो भी religious gurus and religious ulemas हैं या priests हैं, padris हैं, they sit with Modi and chief ministers of different states. There is a reason. Because politics and religion has always go hand in hand. And it is not a new phenomena. The very simple reason is that religion is an emotive issue. Emotive समझते हैं, which creates emotion. जैसे हम सबका एक identity है. हम सबका एक identity है कि say for example, we belong to this region, this caste, this religion, this country. We all have different identities. All of this identity play a very important role in shaping of our personality. So we associate some, we are emotional towards some of our identities, right? For example, you can be very emotional towards our identity as an Indian, right? So this is, by the way, this is a new phenomena, that being emotive about your country. That is not, that is a very new phenomena. This is a phenomena which has occurred in last 400, 500 years. जब concept of nation state emerges. But ये जो emotive aspect है of your identity, religion has always been a very important, it has always played a very important role. So the religious identity है, it has always been very dominant. So maybe few kings may have realized that persecuting a religion, that is not the good way forward. And by the way, only those kings have survived. They have prospered. So you can criticize this thing, but there is no denying the fact that religion has played a very important role in evolution of humanity. So we can criticize it, right? जैसे एक बहुत famous quote है by one of the French thinkers of modern India, Rousseau perhaps, or Montesquieu, I am forgetting. He says that there is no God, but don't tell this my servant, otherwise he will murder me. So he says that there is no, so yeah, religion is an emotive issue. जैसे religion has played a very important role in morality, in differentiating between good and bad. जैसे ये भी तो बड़ा important होता है ना कि हम जो ethical decision अपना जो good and bad का जो हमारा notion है, वो कहाँ से आता है कि something is good, something is bad. So there are many sources. For example, what we learn from our parents, what we learn in our school from teachers. But religious scriptures, they also play a very important role. That something is good, something is bad. Right? So religion has played a very important role in, and it has again both, everything has both a good and bad aspect. The bad aspect will be that when religion has been used as a tool of political mobilization, यहाँ तक फिर भी चलो ठीक है. Problem occurs when it becomes a tool to persecute another religion. So ये आप हम एक जब medieval history पढ़ेंगे, आपको एक theme दिखेगा that many rulers, they used religion as a tool, but at the same time their goals were political in nature. But such rulers will not survive for very long. Only rulers, for example, Akbar created a great kingdom, and because of that Jahangir and Shah Jahan had to do, they did not have to do much. They already had a great kingdom in their hand. He adopted a policy of relative tolerance, more tolerant than other rulers, right? Same does not continue at the time of Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb, even though he ruled a significant part of territory, but his successors, because of his policies, Mughal starts declining. So a change in attitude, maybe it is because of some epiphany, or maybe because of this realization that persecuting one religion, that is not a good thing, because it is an emotive issue. आप persecute करना शुरू करोगे, then people will also mobilize against you, your authority will become diluted. ठीक है? So this is in general, this can be answered for many such things कि कैसे, how, why attitude is changing of rulers, right? Anyways, give this heading megalithic culture. Megalithic culture. नहीं बिल्कुल एक सेकेंड निकुंजित सेइंग इज कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पॉपुलेशन जेनेटिक्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर प्री और मेंस बिल्कुल नहीं दैट वाज जस्ट फॉर अवेयरनेस आपको पता होना चाहिए कि दिस इज ऑल्सो अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स ऑफ हिस्ट्री नाउ डेज ऑल्दो यूपीएससी इज नॉट बाउंड टू आस्क क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम एनी वन पर्टिकुलर बुक जैसे मैंने जो ये पॉपुलेशन जेनेटिक्स का जो आइडिया है मैंने एक बहुत ही आज से साल भर पहले मैंने एक बुक पिक करा था आई रियली लाइक दैट बुक विच इज कॉल्ड अर्ली इंडियंस बाय टोनी जोसेफ तो उसके कुछ पॉइंट्स मैं आपको बता रहा हूं इस क्लास में तो इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर प्रीलिम मेंस तो कहीं से इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है बट प्रीलिम्स के लिए आई डोंट नो मे बी सम एग्जामिनर हैज आल्सो रेड दैट बुक एंड दे कैन फ्रेम अ क्वेश्चन ऑन दैट बुक दैट कैन ऑलवेज हैपन बट इसका मतलब कितने बुक्स पढ़ोगे तो आई विल रिपीट वन टेक्स्ट बुक एक ही टेक्स्ट बुक पढ़ो उसी पे फोकस करो डू नॉट बॉदर अबाउट कि हाँ सर ने तो अर्ली इंडियंस में बोला था डोंट डू दैट अभी आपको करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है एग्जाम निकाल लेना ब्यूरोक्रेट बन जाओ out of interest read these books right Voltaire wrote this thank you Megalithic culture, write down here. From archaeological sources, historians have used the term megalithic culture for southern India, megalithic culture for southern India, not because of their settlements and economy, not because of their settlements and subsistence strategy. Let's use the word subsistence. Not because of their settlement and subsistence strategy, but because of their graves. Around 1200 to 300 BC, लिख लो, around 1200 to 300 BC, mortuary practices known as megaliths. Mortuary means what to do with dead body. Mortuary practices known as megaliths. सॉरी, नहीं, ये इसी टाइम पीरियड की पार्ट हम कर रहे हैं. हाँ, मॉर्चुरी हम इस टाइम पीरियड की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. Mortuary practices included megaliths. क्या लिखा था हमने, सॉरी, बीच में ऐसे मत क्वेश्चन पूछा करो. Mortuary practices known as megaliths. हाँ, ठीक है. Mortuary practices known as megaliths emerged where graves were encircled by stone pieces. The graves contain not only skeletons but also pottery, grains and even weapons. Write on next bullet point. The number of agricultural tools are few. Compared to tools of hunting and gathering. This signifies that advanced agriculture was not practiced. advanced agriculture was not practiced. These megaliths are found in many regions of southern India. However, their concentration is more in eastern Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Give the next heading, Sangam Age. देखो जो रिटन रिकॉर्ड ऑफ साउथ इंडिया है वो लिमिटेड है. संगम एज में भी जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल संगम एज इज नोन एज अगेन marking exact year will be very different, so we can use about an age from 300 BC to 300 AD. So Sangam age literally means assembly of poets. Thousands of poets were gathered from different parts of territories and they compiled many works of literature. For example, the first Tamil grammar, which is known as Tolkappiyam, as well as many books of poetry, many plays, they were written down. Details of this literature you will study in art and culture. So I'm not going to talk about all the books and their main themes. इस पे हम डिस्कस नहीं करेंगे. मेरा जो इंटरेस्ट है वो हिस्ट्री में है. तो जो लिटरेचर पार्ट है कि संगम लिटरेचर जो है, व्हाट डज इट इंक्लूड, व्हाट ऑल इट इंटेल्स, आई एम नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट. व्हाट आर द थीम्स ऑफ मेजर बुक्स, दैट विल बी डिस्कस्ड इन आर्ट एंड कल्चर क्लासेस. बाय द वे, आर्ट एंड कल्चर जब हो तो आर्ट एंड कल्चर क्लास से पहले एक बार एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री में दो एस्पेक्ट्स पक्के से देख लेना. एक तो जो लैंग्वेज एंड लिटरेचर वाला एस्पेक्ट है. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन लास्ट क्लास आई टोल्ड यू दैट अश्वघोष was in the court of Kanishk. Now Ashwaghosh is very famous for writing Buddha Charitam. He writes biography of Buddha. He writes Buddha Charitam. तो आपको ये थोड़ा चीजों को जाके वापस से देख लेना, so that you can correlate these things. Development in art and culture versus development in history. तो हिस्ट्री कल्चर को correlate करना बहुत जरूरी है. बहुत टॉपिक्स हैं. श्रुति इज आस्किंग हाउ मेनी टॉपिक्स ऑफ एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री लेफ्ट. अभी तो आधे पे आए हैं हम. ऐसे समझ लो अभी हमने हाफ ऑफ द जर्नी कवर करा है. एंड थिंग्स फ्रैंकली टिल नाउ आर नॉट वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स. जैसे entire theme I can write down in one paragraph. Whatever I have taught you, I can write down in one paragraph thematically that what are the main themes. अभी complications आए नहीं है. We will talk about many dynasties. Because why complications will emerge? Because we have now more ways to deconstruct history, more written records, more inscriptions. So we will get to know things, we will get to know about things in more detail. तो अभी तो हमने फिर भी 300-400 साल को एक जैसे 600 साल मैंने एक बार संगम एज लिख दिया कि 600 पीरियड संगम एज. सो एक टॉपिक में हमने 600 साल कवर कर लिया. बट दैट विल नॉट हैपन वंस वी इंटर आफ्टर गुप्ता. गुप्ताज भी ठीक है, तभी तक तो हमने गुप्ताज भी शुरू नहीं करा है. बट फिर राष्ट्रकूटाज आएंगे, पल्लवाज आएंगे, चोलाज आएंगे, लेटर चोलाज आएंगे. चोलाज आर इतना ग्रेट किंगडम है. सो चोलाज एग्जिस्टेड इन 2nd century BC also. Few up to few hundred AD we have record of Cholas ruler, and after that we do not have for few hundred years. कि ये जो पूरा period, ancient period from 300 AD to say for example up to 600 AD, we do not have much record of Chola rulers. And then later they emerge as one of the most powerful kingdoms of South India. Not only South India, but they also captured Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and so many regions of Southeast Asia. One of the most powerful navies of their time. Great builders, Rajya Raja Chola, Rajendra Chola. तो suddenly ये continuity जो है, there must be those Cholas as a Chola as a rulers, they must have existed into some very small territory. So there must be some continuity. But वो जो continuity है, जो missing link है few hundred years का, वो हमको पता नहीं है कि what happened in this period. We have information about early Cholas, then we have information about later Cholas. Same goes with Cheras and Pandyas also, right? तो written record बीच में missing है. We do not have lot of written record. So that's why अभी तक history उतना मुश्किल नहीं है. जब हम 500 AD के बाद आएंगे, अभी हम इंटर नहीं करा हमने 300, we are talking about, अभी तक हमने जो भी चीजें डिस्कस करी हैं, they have happened before 300 AD. टाइमलाइन के टर्म में अगर मुझे बोलना हो, so they have happened before 300 AD. Once we enter after 300 AD, things will become more complicated. So there are few classes left. 4-5 क्लास तो आराम से अभी भी और चलेंगी. Anyways, क्या डिस्कस कर रहे थे हम? राइट डाउन हियर, संगम एज. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट संगम एज. It refers to the early history of South India. It refers to early history of South India. Early history of South India, where large number of poets, large number of Tamil poets, let's be more precise, large number of Tamil poets assembled under the royal patronage of Pandya kings of Madurai, under the royal patronage of Pandya kings of Madurai, and compiled great literary work in Tamil. And compiled great literary work in Tamil. Great literary work in Tamil. Much of the history of South India in ancient times can be deconstructed from Sangam literature. From Sangam literature. There should be no doubt कि मेगालिथिक कल्चर के बाद लिखना नहीं है, मेगालिथिक कल्चर के बाद जो संगम एज है, you will definitely find influences of Vedas, influences of Aryan culture penetrating up to South India. So they have their own indigenous elements. By the way, Sangam literature is very secular in nature. It's not a religious literature. ये बहुत important point है. It is secular literature. It talks about administration. It talks about economy. It talks about some great stories of some kings and queens. It also includes a great work of Tamil grammar. Right? So this is secular literature, not a religious literature, unlike Vedas. Vedas हैं, they are religious literature. Vedas, so for example, Rig Veda talks about Indra, Agni, Marut, ये जो gods हैं, reciting hymns for these gods. Even later Vedas, they are also more religious in nature. Right? So Sangam literature is not religious. They mention three ancient kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Let me show you with the help of a map regarding their rule. So Cholas, modern day जो तमिलनाडु, few regions of Andhra Pradesh, ठीक है. जो पांड्यास हैं, they are the one who patronized this Sangam assembly, and जो चेरास हैं, they are also called Kerala Putras. For example, Ashokan inscriptions talk about Kerala Putras. They are Cheras, which will be what? Modern day Kerala and some region of Karnataka. So these are the three kingdoms who are fighting for this supremacy over this region of southern India. There are many conflicts, many battles. We do not have to know about these battles in detail. Some matrimonial alliances, but one theme is common: a prospering civilization with agriculture and trade. For example, all of these three kingdoms have important ports. जैसे recently एक port news में था जिसका नाम है Muziris. Muziris इसलिए news में था because Kerala government was awarded both at national and international level for the restoration of this heritage site. Muziris was a very famous port of Cheras, where from this port trade with Greeks and Romans occurred. Right. Similarly, here they have port at Kaveri Patnam. Even Pandyas have port at Korkai. So all these kingdoms had important ports. तो ये हमको पता होना चाहिए जो important ports हैं. तो आप एक bracket में you can make a table. Chola, Cheras, Pandyas. Few important things, few important names which you should know. तो जो capital है इनका, so capital of Chola is Urayur. Urayur. Capital of Chera is Vanji. And capital of Pandya is Madurai. Vanji. They also have very interesting emblem. जो चोला एम्बलम है वो आपका टाइगर है. जो पांड्या एम्बलम जो चेरा एम्बलम है दैट इज बो, धनुष, बो. And the emblem of Pandyas is fish. Ports, important ports. So पांड्या का जो सबसे important port है that is कोरकई. कोरकई. चोलास का जो पोर्ट है दैट इज पुहर, which is what even today, even in modern times it is active, Kaveri Patnam. And जो चेरास का पोर्ट है दैट इज मुजिरिस. Shashwat has a doubt. Sinoli also has burial graves, so can we say that burial system was indigenous to India also? जो सिनौली, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आई रिमेंबर द सिनौली की जो आप बात कर रहे हो, रिसेंटली डिस्कवरी पे एक बड़ा फेमस डॉक्यूमेंट्री आया था, द सीक्रेट ऑफ सिनौली करके. However, I should also tell you that ये जो डॉक्यूमेंट्री है that was not based on some archaeological, so yes, some archaeological diggings have surfaced lot of things, but उसका एग्जैक्ट जो कंक्लूजन है, जैसे एक ना हिस्टोरिकल राइटिंग एक हमेशा एक तरीका होता है, इन जनरल कोई भी डिसिप्लिन का तरीका होता है. that you have come up with a discovery, you will write a research paper, that research paper will be published, it will be peer reviewed. Peer reviewed means कि जो आपके peer groups हैं, they will review this research paper, what do they think about that. So once it is peer reviewed, it is published in a generally respected journals, कि जो important journals हैं वहाँ पे publish होंगे. तो जो सिनोली के findings पे peer reviewed papers वो missing हैं. तो सिनोली के findings को use करके उसको history का part बनाना, it will be, as of now it will be soon. However, जो आप discovery documentary की बात कर रहे हो, Secrets of Sinoli, that is based on some initial assessment. So I will not, आपका जो question है, that can we say that burial system was indigenous to India also? Burial system is definitely there as part of Indus Valley people. इसमें कोई doubt ही नहीं है. But what about later? What about as part of Vedic civilization? इसको answer करना थोड़ा मुश्किल है. It's a difficult thing to answer because we do not have enough data. By the way, burial system is definitely part of our indigenous culture because Indus Valley people, in many Indus Valley sites, we have found many burials. And because of that burials, we have been able to do genetic analysis. We have isolated a DNA sample and we have been able to do genetic analysis. We have compared those genes with existing genes and from that we have come to this conclusion. जैसे जो राखी गरी पे जो कुछ हमको bodies मिली हैं, they have helped a lot in deconstructing the history of Indus Valley people. Give the heading Cholas. They are also called early Cholas. Later Cholas are also called imperial Cholas. तो ये जो Cholas हैं, you should not confuse what I am making you write here with what we are going to discuss later. जो early medieval India है, जो later Cholas हैं, imperial Cholas, जैसे राज्य राजा, Rajendra Chola. We are going to discuss about them in ancient history class only, but जो technical classification है, वो ancient history नहीं रह जाता है. वो फिर हो जाता है early medieval India. Early medieval India and medieval India is further divided into early and late medieval India. So as part of ancient India classes also, we are going to also discuss about imperial Cholas. ठीक है? The kingdom was called Chola Mandalam. The kingdom was called Chola Mandalam. Coromandel coast जो है तमिलनाडु का, that derives its names from Chola Mandalam. जो Coromandel coast अभी हम बोलते हैं ना, so that derives its name from Chola Mandalam. The kingdom was called Chola Mandalam. It was situated between Penner and Velar rivers. The most famous Chola king is Karaikal. The most famous Chola king is Karaikal. Karaikal, who founded Puhar. Puhar is modern day Kaveripatnam. Founded Puhar, which became a great trade and commerce center. Which became a great center of trade and commerce. It also has a large dock. It also has a large dock which signifies trade with other kingdoms. trade with other kingdoms. लार्ज डॉकयार्ड्स जो होते हैं जहां पे शिप, बड़े बड़े शिप्स हम पार्क करते हैं. Also has a large dock. It signifies trade with other kingdoms. Sangam text mentions Battle of Veni. Battle of Veni, where Karaikal. Sangam texts mention Battle of Veni, where Karaikal defeated an alliance of Pandyas, Cheras, and other rulers also. Write on next bullet point. Their chief center of political power. Their chief center of political power. Their chief center of political power and capital was Urayur. Urayur, which was famous for cotton trade. Which was famous for cotton trade. Sangam text also mentions a Chola king Ilara. Sangam text also mention a Chola king Ilara. Who conquered Sri Lanka. And ruled over it for decades. देखो डायनेस्टी बोलना बहुत मुश्किल है. जो कराईकल किस डायनेस्टी से थे, तो डायनेस्टी रादर देन यूजिंग अ डायनेस्टी आई विल यूज अ इंपॉर्टेंट किंग ऑफ चोला किंगडम. तो यहाँ पे डायनेस्टी बोलना बहुत मुश्किल है, राइट. सो आई विल से दैट ही इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट Chola king. Anyways, let's finish today's class here. We will continue this discussion about Cheras and Pandyas in next class, and then again we will shift our focus back to northern part. We will start our discussion about Gupta Empire. Another very powerful empire emerged in Magad, that is Gupta.